Hello, friend, and welcome to the first podcast on ITIL. ITIL stands for Information Technology Infrastructure Library, and it's a proprietary framework of Axelos, and it's licensed by Axelos, and it's a copyrighted content. So please make sure that if you need any further information apart from this podcast that I will be covering here, feel free to go to the Axelos website in order to get more details from the official Axelos websites. Okay, so my name is Love Johar, and I am in the information technology domain from past 10 years, and I have covered different roles in different organizations. I have worked as a infrastructure operations manager, I have worked as a IT manager, I have worked as a security manager. A lot of different hats I have actually had in my past roles, and ITIL is very important for a career in IT. So all of you out there who are trying to learn more about ITIL, who are beginners in the ITIL world, this information that I will be covering in these podcasts will be actually helpful to all of you out there. So make sure that you listen to these podcasts very carefully and share them with all of your friends who are also in the same boat and trying to learn more about the ITIL. And the reason I am sharing these podcasts is to help all of you out there, and that's the only reason I am sharing these podcasts with all of you out there. So I will start the first podcast from here by defining the first, by laying the ground of ITIL, which is IT service management, which is the sole reason why ITIL is created. It's a framework to implement the IT service management within an organization. So it's a set of best practices. So the first and foremost thing that we all should be aware about is what exactly is a service, and what is the definition of a service, and what is the meaning and importance of service, and why do customers purchase or use a service first of all, and what are the different characteristics and properties of a service, and how do customers perceive the value of the services that they are getting, and what exactly is service quality, and what exactly is the role of customer satisfaction while we are talking about the service. So these are all different areas that I will cover in this first podcast that you are listening to right now. And let me start by defining what exactly is a service. So a service is nothing but a means of delivering value to the customers by facilitating outcomes that the customers want to achieve without the ownership of specific costs and risks. So this is a standard definition of a service. So important words to remember in this particular definition are, first of all, what is the value. So value is nothing but how well the service facilitates the outcomes for the customers. For example, if I am getting a service from a service provider on my cell phone, and I'm not getting calls, so that means that my service provider, which is actually being paid for making sure that I get and I receive and I'm able to send calls from my cell phone. If the calls are not going, then that means the services are not facilitated properly. So the outcome that I am looking for is actually to look forward to getting calls and making calls from my cell phone. If that is not happening, then the value is getting lost in between. So value is very important when we talk about service, and value is also very important when we talk about the entire ITIL series. And you will get this word from me repeatedly, value. I will keep on repeating this word in different stages of ITIL. There are 5 different stages that we will discuss about later, but the main theme will actually revolve around value proposition. Okay, so value is very important in the definition of a service. What exactly is a service? So next, after value, what exactly is the second word that we are looking at? The second word that we are looking at is customers, the business that we are actually delivering to. So the reason why customers and the business is very important from a service point of view is because these customers and the business actually judges and decides the value of your service. These are the people who will actually define the quality. We I mean, you as a service provider, whoever is providing a service, cannot define the ultimate quality that the customer is getting. Only the customer can do that from his end. So customers actually define the quality that they are getting. It's actually from a customer's point of view that we need to understand the value proposition. It's not the other way around. Okay. So after that, the other important word after the customers is the outcomes. So outcome is very important. So outcome is nothing but customer needs, the reasons why customers purchase a service. For example, increasing their customer base. For example, a website a website wants to increase the traffic. A website owner wants to increase the traffic on their website, so they are purchasing some services for advertisements on different platforms on social media. So that could be a reason why a customer is purchasing a service. Or to reduce operational expenses, a customer is purchasing a service. Or to reduce a turnaround time for a particular product within the market. Could be a number of reasons why a customer is looking to purchase a service. Okay, I'm just giving you some hints around here. Also, after the outcomes, the other important things that comes around is ownership. So the ownership is very important in case of a service. So customers do not want to take the complete ownership of handling a service. It's the other way around. It's the service provider who actually has to make sure that he is taking the accountability, he is taking the responsibility of something. So ownership is nothing but taking accountability and responsibility of delivering a service. So that is very important in terms of a service. After that, after the ownership, it's costs. It's the main factor, a deciding factor for any a customer or a business to purchase a service is cost. So the total cost of ownership, TCO, and the return on investment, which is ROI. These are the two parameters which will reflect the service costs from a service from a service consumer standpoint. And the business or the customers will actually see what is the total cost of ownership that they have to pay for getting this service, and what will be the return on investment once they have actually purchased this service. So these are the two very important factors as well as costs are concerned. So after that, the other important part for in a service is risks. Risk is nothing but constraints such as skills, expertise, equipments, time. So for example, a customer would not have certain skills. For example, a customer wants to create a website and is not having the skills to do so. So he will obviously look for some company or some individual who is having an expertise in web development. So this is an area where the customer actually needs help with. So the risks and constraints could be related with the skills or the expertise, or it could be related with the equipments. A customer might not have certain equipments to complete a task or to deliver something, so he might look for a service provider to get the same equipments. And sometimes it is the time factor as well. Some people do not want to invest their time in completing a particular task, so they actually outsource that task to other people or to other different vendors. So that could be a reason why a customer is looking for a service provider. Okay, so these are the different risks which are actually the constraints, which are the basic defining factors for why a customer is actually getting a service from a service provider. Okay, so we have to make sure that we understand this properly. These are very important words, and these are there in the definition of a service, and I want to make sure that you understand this properly. So some important points that I want to again highlight over here is the outcome is the basic reason why customers will or are willing to purchase a service. The only reason is they are looking for some outcomes that they are not able to get by themselves. Okay, that is very important. The other thing is the value. So the value is directly proportional to how well a service facilitates the outcome. I mean, we have to make sure that the service that we are providing is facilitating the outcome properly, or else it will be very hard for the customer to pay for the service on a repeated basis, and the customers might look for some other services in that scenario. After that, the service delivers value in two ways. The service can deliver value by either enhancing performance or by reducing constraints. So this is very important point, my friend. So a service can deliver value by either enhancing the performance of a particular task. For example, if a customer is trying to populate or post a particular content on his website, and he is struggling with the same publishing a post on his website, and if you provide him a service by giving him a content page where he can simply select a pre-released content, or some content which has already been prepared by you and on the same area, so you're actually trying to enhance the performance of a task which he is doing, and also reducing the constraints which he has to bear by himself. So this is how your service can deliver a value. Okay, so you are actually trying to help the customer in achieving his goals and objectives. Okay, the other important point to remember is the service should be available all the time. A service, there should not be a case where the customer is trying to go to his website and his website is down. So that should not be the case. If you are a service provider, you have to make sure that that his website is available all the time. If you are charging him for hosting services, and you have to make sure then that the website is available. Okay, after that, the service should be supported by skilled people and with the right equipments. You as a service provider should have skilled people, and you as a service provider should have the right equipments for supporting the service, and this is your responsibility. And it should be it should not be a case where the customer is struggling, he is not able to satisfy his needs, and he's again struggling with the outcomes for which he had purchased the service. That should not be the case. So you have to be well equipped with skilled people and the right equipments as a service provider in order to deliver a service. It's very important. After that, the other important point that I would like to mention over here is services should be available at a reasonable cost, and it should not be a case where the customer is struggling with your cost and your cost is way high than what he or she should pay in order to get the service. So it should not be a case like that. The services that you are providing should be available at a reasonable cost to the customer, which he can bear. The other important point that I would like to mention is here, whenever you are delivering a service, you have to focus on the outcome from the customer's perspective. As I mentioned before, the outcome that the customer is looking for, you have to check with the customer if he's happy with the outcome or not. You have to do that as a service provider. And the other point that I would like to mention over here is the services should only be provided if there is a demand for them, and they need to be provided in a cost-effective manner. And you have to make sure that there is a demand for the service that you are providing. There should not be a case where you are hosting a lot of space on the cloud, and the customers are not because of your high cost or because of any other constraints, they are not coming to you. So if the demand is low for your services, then you need to watch out, and you need to find a cost effective solution for that. So demand should be there for your service. If it is not happening, then the services will not go a long way. After that, the important point that I would like to mention over here is you have to completely understand the required outcomes that your customers are looking for. And if you will not understand the required outcomes, you will not be able to deliver the outcomes. It's a very important point. So if I as a service provider, if I'm a service provider, I'm actually providing a customer a hosting platform, and I'm not sure what exactly my customer is trying to do while creating a website. So that is something that I need to be aware of before facilitating the service for the customer. So the outcome that the customers are looking for should be clear to me as a service provider first. Okay, it's very important. So the other point that I would like to mention over here is, in order to continuously deliver value, The service providers need to update their services as per their customers' expectations changes, because the customer expectations can change over time. So the customers might switch to another service provider, or might need some other add-on services which you as a service provider are not able to cater to. So you have to deliver value, and you have to update your services as per your customer expectations. Okay, so make sure that this point is clear. If a service is not doing good and is not attracting new customers, it should be retired. However, a service that is performing well and attracting lots of new customers should receive more and more investments. So this is a very important point, and I think this is a very basic point and should be clear by now. So again, the one thing that I would like to focus on over here is customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is the key to a successful service delivery and to achieve a great service quality. Customer satisfaction should be there. If your customers are not satisfied and not happy with the services that you are providing, it will not go a long way. And the customers should be satisfied with your level of service and should feel confident in your ability as a service provider to continue providing the respective services. The reason why I am putting myself in shoes of a service provider is we are the people, we are in IT, we are actually delivering services to the end users within our organization. So ITIL framework entirely focuses on all the things that IT as a service provider needs to understand and needs to act on. Okay, so all the podcasts that I will be publishing in this series will actually will be a role play of a service provider and a customer. So this interaction is very important between you as a IT service provider, whether you are working in an organization or if you are an IT service provider. You have to understand that you are providing a service to a customer. It can be an internal customer or it can be an external customer. That is another case, and we will discuss that in another different podcast, how it can be differentiated in both the scenarios. But again, if you as a service provider are trying to provide services, then it is your responsibility to understand these points very clearly and carefully. Okay, so the customers should be satisfied with your level of service and should feel confident in your ability as a service provider to continue providing the respective services that they are looking for. This is very important. And the other point is the difficulty in matching the customer's expectation can be, like as I mentioned, the customer's expectations keep on changing sometimes because of a new service which is available in the market. And if you as a service provider, if you are not able to match the expectations, they will soon you will soon find your business getting lost, and they will actually switch to another service provider. Let me give you an example. For example, I am hosting a website platform, and I'm providing cloud services to my end users who want to create new websites on my platform. And there's another service provider who is also doing the same business. Because of competition, there's another service provider and he is also doing the same business. And the add-on that service provider is giving is, he is actually giving the customers, the end users, a template, a basic template where they can fill in their information of what they want to see on their website, and by clicking on end button or the next button, all the information that they have filled actually translates to a web page, a very nice web page. So their effort is reduced to half. So this is an add-on that particular website service provider is providing. And I am myself as a service provider, I am not able to provide that particular service. So what do you think my customers will do? My customers will simply shift to that service provider. It's that simple, and they will not even think about anything else. So you have to make sure that you are continuously delivering value. Okay, it's very important. So the IT service, understanding of an IT service is very important. So again, I want to summarize what I have covered in the IT service first podcast. It's IT service stands for delivering value to the customer, and we want to provide opportunities for the customers to achieve their desired outcomes. Customers must not pay for specific costs. This is very important point. There are different inherent costs which are there. For example, if I am providing a cloud web hosting platform to my customers, then there are a lot of different infrastructure costs that I am also bearing. For example, I am having a big data center that I am actually paying for. There are a lot of bucks that I am actually paying in order to deliver those services, but the customer has nothing to do with those inherent costs. Okay, so these are the specific costs that I as a service provider has to pay in order to deliver those services. Okay, it's very important, and the customer should not pay for these costs because these are my operational costs. Okay, so make sure that you understand this point. And the customers will not be ready to manage any risk related to the service delivery. For example, if my cloud hosting platform is not available and his website is not hosted, and whenever he tries to go to see his website, it's giving an error, showing that your website is down and is not available, he will not listen to me. He will not listen to any of the excuses that I will give him, because he wants that service to be delivered, and he will not be able to tolerate any of the risks that I as a service provider will be facing at that time. So customer wants the service delivery to happen in a seamless manner. Okay, that is what the expectations is. So I'll stop here with the brief summary of what we have covered today. We have covered today about a service definition, what exactly is a service, how it is defined, the meaning and importance of a service, why do customers purchase or use a service, and what are the different characteristics and properties of a service, how do customers perceive the value of a service, what is service quality, and the role of customer satisfaction in service. So this is Love Johar. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please feel free to ask me, and I will be happy to cover the same in another podcast that I will be coming coming up with in another podcast session. Thank you so much for listening to me, and this is Love Johar. Thank you. Bye bye.